Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Welcome to The Ray Taylor Show, where I bring you the reviews on the latest movies and TV shows, as well as classic and foreign films. I'm your host, Ray Taylor, and on this podcast, I'll be talking about all things film and television. Whether you're looking for a new show to binge or want to know if that blockbuster is worth the trip to the theater or just want to hear my thoughts on a classic or foreign film, I've got you covered. So join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new episodes, and let's dive into the world of film and television together. On this episode, I am talking about the next movie in the Hunger Games franchise, the second film, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. This movie came out a year after the first movie, as I think each of these movies came out 1 year after the previous, which is kind of a crazy clip to be releasing movies. I don't remember if these were all filmed at the same time, which maybe. There was a trend. That was a trend after The Lord of the Rings where studios were doing that. I don't know if this is one of those, an example of that, but came out 1 year later, 2013. It's directed by Francis Lawrence, written by Simon Beaufoy, Michael Arndt, and Suzanne Collins, starring Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Woody Harrelson, Donald Sutherland. In this movie, Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark become targets of the Capitol after their victory of the 74th Hunger Games spark a rebellion in the districts of Panem. Overall, I did not like this movie at all as much as I loved the first movie or liked the first movie. This movie has a lot of problems. I don't think it's a very good movie at all. Very confusing. Definitely felt like there was a whole movie that took place between. It feels like I skipped the second movie and went right to the third. And there's just a lot of scenes. It just feels like stuff was cut out. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of character choices and moments that just didn't make sense. And I'm going to get into all that. I'm sure if you read the books before watching this, you would know a lot of the things, why characters are doing certain things, but they don't make any sense. There is a twist at the end of this movie that just like comes out of nowhere. Kind of explains a lot of the ridiculous things that take place, but not in a way that is satisfying in any way. But in this movie, I'm not a big fan of this. I do not like this movie. Do not like this movie. And it makes me scared for the following movies that are coming, that maybe they aren't going to be very good. Maybe, but also I am hopeful that maybe this is just a bridge. This is a movie that is transitioning into what the final two, part 1 and part 2, are. So fingers crossed they aren't horrible, but I did not like this one. No shaky cam in this movie, which is nice, right? They're adults killing each other. It's not just kids killing each other, so I guess they can get away with not having to distract with shaky cam, although I still think it avoids really showing anything too graphic. And the movie still has fun action. Don't get me wrong, fun action. But it felt like there was just a lot of this movie missing. Character motivations seems absolutely baffling. I ask the question often, why did they do that? Why are they helping? Why do they care all of a sudden? Like, there's a lot of things that just don't make any sense. And they're in the twist, it explains why, but not really. Really just brings up more questions. Like, well, why did they do it that way then? If they all knew, why did they? But I'll get into that in spoilers, obviously. And as I said, I would imagine the book fills in a lot of the why and is able to flesh out the motivations in a way that are completely absent from this movie. Right? It definitely has a lot of interesting ideas. You have Katniss and Peeta. They have to maintain this kind of fake love story narrative that was part of the reason why they both were able to survive the first Hunger Games. We find out what kind of the life is for people who win the Hunger Games, right? How they're being used for promotion/propaganda. Like they are figureheads now. Like they are a tool used by the Capitol in order to keep everybody in all the other districts in line. So we get to see what that kind of life is, a little taste of it. Also, the love triangle, there's a little bit more conflict of that in that love triangle in this movie. We also have kind of an interesting excuse for them to get back into the Hunger Games, but even that excuse doesn't make any sense, which I will poke some holes in that later. The rebellion that is kind of starting to percolate in the background is interesting. It is very much in the background, and, you know, I would imagine the book kind of fleshes out that whole aspect of it, this kind of background thing, which doesn't really make sense fully while watching the movie. Like, I understand it's happening, but it's like, there's aspects of it that just don't make sense. Right? None of those things were handled in a way that really made much sense or really felt meaningful in any way. Right? There's a lot of telling and not showing, and the telling doesn't make sense. They don't tell things in a way that really explains the why things are happening that way, why people are doing the things they're doing. Right? There's clearly a lot that is happening, but instead of like taking the time to flesh it all out, just felt like, you know, I watched a movie with tons of scenes taken out. Right? It felt like a movie that like I was passing out, like falling asleep during, and like I kept waking up and like, wait, what is happening now? Why is that person helping them all of a sudden? Wait, what do they do? What is the purpose for them doing that thing? Like, there's a lot of like confusion going on in this movie, especially the end. Just, it felt super rushed. Right. Also, the most confusing part of the movie is at the end. Right. Everything from when the game starts, this new game starts, Hunger Games starts, and then kind of jumps ahead, and the movie kind of just ends. I got problems. Right. Clearly the movie is setting up for a sequel. Not very a good self-contained story like I felt like the first one was. Like, even if these sequels didn't exist, the first Hunger Games felt at least like a satisfying self-contained movie, where this one just feels like a means to the final movies and not a very satisfying one. Just a lot of stuff that made no sense, and then until the end where it kind of is explained, but even still it just doesn't. It's like that doesn't even make sense. Like, it just felt like so unnecessary, so much of this movie. And the twist at the end just kind of comes out of nowhere. Right? It explains why people act completely weird, but doesn't explain why we went through the process of it to begin with. Which, obviously, I need to get into spoilers. You know, this movie, you're seeing, before I get into spoilers, it's like, you know, you're seeing a lot of similarities from the first movie. There's a thing that happens where they have to go back into the Hunger Games even though they've already won. There's a kind of a new upgraded training center. That process is different. The games take place in a different place. There's a new guy who is the head of the games now that other guy was killed for allowing them to both win. There is the tension between the Capitol and Katniss, which was clear was going to happen. The fact that she got upper hand and she was able to force them to allow them to survive. But then the way everything was handled falls apart. So I want to get into spoilers, so let's do that. Starting now. Right? Interesting, good ideas. Some interesting changes. I enjoyed the fact that Katniss has like this PTSD from killing people. She's even like kind of getting triggered and having flashbacks while she's hunting with Gale, shooting at a rabbit, and all of a sudden she looks like she shot a person. Very interesting. Doesn't do anything in the overall story. An interesting thing, just kind of completely squandered. And during the training montage thing, right, where in the last one she shot an arrow when they all ignored her, she missed the target, and all the people up above that were watching this, where they're showing off their skill, and she shoots the apple out of the pig's mouth. Right now there's a force field there, so she can't do that. So the skill that she does when she goes in to show off for these people is to paint the mannequin that is in there for some reason with paints. Somebody else's skill was to do art, and they did a mural, like a chalk mural on the floor of Peru, which only serves to trigger Katniss in a way. But her skill was she painted the guy's name on the chest of this mummy, or not mummy, but dummy, and then she hangs it to remind them that she's responsible for the death of the previous game runner guy, right? So, Seneca. So, it's, I guess, like, sure. The change to the countdown, kind of ridiculous in the last one. They started like around the countdown before the game was like started from like 50. This one was a 10 countdown, which made a lot more sense. It's also a new location for the game, which, I guess is interesting. Like, I don't know where they have all these locations. And we find out that these locations are within a dome. So it's like, how would they construct... Who's constructing these new, like, arenas for them to take place in? I don't understand that. The love triangle, we have Gale is now jealous of Katniss and Peeta, right? Seeing her, so there's that. So we definitely get more of the love triangle aspect of it. And also Gale is a target because the president saw Gale kissing Katniss at the beginning of this movie, and in order to control Katniss, he is threatening to kill her family and anybody she loves, including Gale, which he knows that there's a thing between them, right? Because he wants her to be his figurehead. He wants her to fall in line to keep these other districts from rising up. Let's take a quick break from this episode because I want to talk about, are you looking for the perfect gift for that art lover in your life? Look no further than inspireddisorder.com. Our gift cards can be used to purchase original artwork from The Many Faces, a collection of over 2,000 original abstract ink portraits. These one-of-a-kind pieces make for a truly unique and meaningful gift. But that's not all. Our gift cards can also be used to purchase high-quality prints and t-shirts featuring these amazing paintings. Plus, if the recipient is a fan of The Ray Taylor Show, they can use the gift card to purchase merchandise from the show as well. So why wait? Head on over to inspireddisorder.com and purchase a gift card today. Your loved one will be sure to appreciate the thought and creativity behind such a unique gift. Thank you for considering inspireddisorder.com for all of your gift needs. And now, back to the show. And there's a point where, there's fascist rule where the government is coming in, these enforcers are going into all the districts in order to really make them scared to quiet the rebellion. Really doesn't make any sense. They're putting more pressure on, they're just making it more of a reason for them to rebel. Which leads them to, like, Gale sees this happening and is going to protect somebody that's being abused, and then ends up being tied up in the middle of the square and whipped, which then leads Katniss and then Peeta to go in and intervene. Which, again, there's magical medicine, or there actually is no magical medicine, right? He gets whipped. All they have is snow to put on him to ease his pain. No magical medicine for that. Apparently, obviously, I guess that makes sense. The wealthy people have access to this magical medicine that can easily cure you, but they wouldn't have any in District 12. So I guess that does make sense. But I don't get, like, there is multiple times where almost every single character is actively protecting Peeta. Gale going out of his way to protect Peeta, even because they're being chosen to go back in, and Katniss is so determined, we have to protect Peeta. We can't let him go back in. Obviously, they know he's not very good and probably not going to survive, but, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, every single character, and even so much as to they notice Why did that person just risk their life to save me? It is this thing that happens throughout. Doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't make any sense. Peeta could literally die and would not change anything of the story. Not one bit. Not one bit. Would not matter. There's no reason for him to be around. He's not like the main figurehead of this movement. He is not the Mockingjay. He is this fake love interest. And yet every single person is far more concerned with saving Peeta than anybody else. It is ridiculous. And also shows that Katniss has more feelings for Peeta in this one. There's moments when they're in the game where she's like, you need to stick around. I need to save you, right? Like, just none of this love triangle stuff makes any sense anymore. The new reality that they're in after having Win is pretty interesting, right? Where she's now living in a big house with her family right across the street from Peeta and their family. Like, their whole lives will now be spent doing these tours to go prop up and disseminate the propaganda of the Capitol. You have the president confronting Katniss about her defying the Capitol and being able to leave unharmed, right? But forcing her to keep up with the charade. Like, for the rest of their lives, she has to keep up the charade with Peeta while they're doing this victory tour thing, which the robot camera's pretty interesting. Going to the districts to give eulogies for the people they're responsible for killing or possibly responsible for killing is ridiculous. I don't understand how that's supposed to keep people in line to show off the murderers of these people. Like, the whole idea that this game is supposed to make people, like, not rebel doesn't make any sense. Like, they fight each other in order to stop fighting against the cat. Like, I understand, like, how societies will split societies up, like in America, right? You have the conservatives and liberals. Meanwhile, the government really does the same thing. They only protect the wealthy and corporations. Meanwhile, they divide us by making the racist people hate things and fear things about people they don't understand, like LGBTQ and all that. And they divide us in that way. Meanwhile, everybody in charge kind of does the same thing. But it doesn't really translate into what this movie's trying to do and what the games try to represent. Like, the games are supposed to be like this type of a conflict that is similar to what we see in our world, but I don't know. And Peeta goes off script. So we're going to donate money to the families of these people, and they're like, what can you do? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, is he gonna do that? Does it matter what's going on here? Somebody does the three-finger salute, gets killed, right? I don't understand what the three-finger salute means. Be this unity between them, this calling card for the rebellion, I guess, but it's not like in a way that the Capitol doesn't instantly identify and slaughter that guy. Like, everything the Capitol does seems like the worst decision if they want to try and avoid rebellion. Like, they're doing all of the worst things. It just doesn't. So much of it is like, I don't get it. So they end up, because they have to pretend to be in this relationship forever, they figure, well, it's bound to happen, so let's just get married, right? It's like, I guess we just got to do this. Better now than never. Because it's going to be a yearly thing where Peeta and Katniss have to go do this tour. And the character that's by far the most confusing is Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? He's the new game maker. I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. He is like, and at first, throughout the majority of this movie, 90% of this movie, 99% of this movie, he is like the guy who is going to not only create this game that's going to recontextualize Katniss. They want to make Katniss look like a villain. Like, they concoct this excuse, this Quarter Quell games, in order to get Katniss back in the game. and Peeta back in the game in order to show her killing other victors to tarnish her reputation. That is the whole idea, to try and get her away from being this figurehead of the rebellion, right? That is the whole thing that this propaganda guy, this new game guy, comes up with. First off, you're telling me that this is something that happens every 25 years, that victors of previous games go into battle in the Hunger Games. And you're telling me that everybody who's 30 years or older has no memory of this ever happening before, and all of a sudden this is a tradition that happens every 25 years. It's like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. At all. Don't buy it. Don't buy. It's like these things are so transparently don't make any sense. The same thing within the previous movie, where it's like, oh, we're going to let a couple win, and then right before the couple wins, they change the rules. It's like, wouldn't you see how transparently you have just offered this thing in order to keep people from rioting and then taking it away? Don't you think that would just encourage them to be more angry? It's just like they're shooting them. If the ideas for the Capitol to change the view of these victors of Katniss as this figurehead, as this symbol of rebellion, they are doing everything to shoot themselves in the foot. Like, the people who are responsible for the rebellion are not even responsible for how effective the rebellion is growing, because it is the Capitol doing everything to themselves. And then you have scenes that make no sense. You have multiple times where they're on this train, right, doing their tour, where Katniss walks by this control room where the door is cracked for no reason other than so she can peek in and see the rebellions going on. It's like some news surveillance cameras or whatever. And the first time, the people in the room notice she's there and close the door. So it's clear the door can close by the push of a button, but apparently on multiple times the door didn't close all the way, and they're on a train. Where else is she going to go? Why would they even have that on the train? It makes no sense why that room is on the train. It makes no sense why that door is always open for her to just peek in and look. Obviously, it's there in the movie to show this rebellion that's supposedly happening in the different districts. But instead of just showing the rebellion happening, they concoct this scene that makes no sense on the train where she just happens to walk by and see. So the idea, victors are going to compete again, right? Just this made-up tradition is Quarter Quell. Makes no sense. The reason why her stylist is such a big part of this movie and the rebellion makes no sense either. Like, fashion is part of the rebellious movement in such a big way. Doesn't make any sense. Don't even understand why he's the one escorting her to the games. I'm not surprised that after he does that, they take him away to show her that, oh, this guy that's your ally is going to be beaten, tortured, maybe killed. But it doesn't make any sense. Why is her stylist the one taking her to go? Wouldn't it be like Woody Harrelson's character? Why is the stylist such a big part of this movie? Doesn't make any sense. Also, the lady that's like on tour with them that writes their scripts, who's part of the Capitol, is now all of a sudden part of their team. She's like, oh, we need to have gold. That's going to be representative of all of us. So anybody wearing gold, that means they're on our team, which is only there to make it so that guy inside the game, who all of a sudden is a nice guy giving piggyback rides to this old lady and is their ally trying to save them. The only thing that makes them not at all concerned is the fact that he's wearing a gold bracelet, because now he's part of the gold team. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why she's so emotionally connected to these people. right? Like, it doesn't seem like she doesn't even seem like she's supposed to be part of she seems like she's an overall event coordinator for people that do these things. I don't know. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about, are you a fan of art, movies, and all things entertainment? Then you need to check out youtube.com/inspireddisorder. Our page is jam-packed with all kinds of great content, including making of videos of the many faces, an ongoing art series of abstract ink paintings. But that's not all. We also feature daily episodes from The Ray Taylor Show, a podcast that brings you movie reviews, TV show reviews, episode recaps, opinions on news and entertainment, and much more. There's also a weekly diary and top 5 movie rankings of a variety of categories. And if that wasn't enough, we've also got how-to videos covering all kinds of topics. So why wait? Head on over to youtube.com/inspireddisorder and start exploring the amazing content we have to offer. And now, back to the show. None of the victors want to compete. It is so clear, but then, like, nothing, like, you think, like, oh, if none of them want to compete, then you would think that they would all come to an agreement to just, like, not kill each other. It's like, well, what are they going to do? I guess they kill everybody, but it's like, you think they would have tried to formulate a plan not to kill each other and to all survive, since they are, like, this elite fighting crew that all survived Hunger Games. Their united front makes no sense, considering there is no united front. Then Peeta comes up with this fake baby thing, which means nothing, changes nothing. It's super easy to see who's going to survive in the games because you only get to see a few of them actually speak. You know? So it's like you don't really care about anybody that's in the games. And then you have people inside the game. The guy who gives that old lady a piggyback, he's like desperate to save Peeta. You have the morphing lady, like, literally sacrifice her life to save Peeta. And Peeta's like, why did she do that? She just killed herself to save me. None of it makes sense. Why? He can be dead. There's no purpose for him to be alive. There's zero purpose. He's not even the figurehead. She is. Katniss is. It doesn't make any sense. And that dude who's super nice carrying the old lady comes out of nowhere. Like, all of a sudden, he's like super nice and on their side and saving them, sacrificing himself. It doesn't make any sense. And if they wanted to kill her, right, the idea, one, for her to be in the game is to show her killing other people, to make her image look bad. Never happens. And if they wanted to kill her, which you kind of understand that the game designer doesn't want to kill her, but puts her in as much danger as possible. She barely survives, right? Like, if the fog was just poisonous and not something that burned their skin when it touched them, would have easily killed them. But still could have. Like, they narrowly survived that. Like, they barely accidentally, like, fall into a barrier, which it did look gnarly. The old lady kills herself. Like, the old lady being there doesn't make any sense. Everyone's still trying to save Peeta always. Doesn't make any sense why everybody's so desperate to save Peeta. There's magical water that cures the blisters they get from the fog. Like, it's just like happenstance that everything, oh, this super dangerous fog, they're narrowly surviving it, so it looks like they want to kill her, but easily could have killed her. They just put poison in there, but somehow they barely survive. There's this magical water that exists that instantly cures all of them, so all of that damage is meaningless. You have the morphing lady that saves Peeta again. Not even part of their alliance. Nothing makes sense. Peeta tells Katniss, there's no one to go back home for me. No shit. Like, there is no reason for Peeta to be alive. He knows it. He doesn't even understand why people are saving him. Why is he the guy? That makes no sense at all in this movie. And now Katniss is even like, you need to survive. You need to, I like you now. And then they kiss. It's like, what? Why? What is going on? Then you have this character, Joanna, mentioning that if anything ever happened to Prim, Katniss's sister, there would be riots. Comes out of nowhere. It's like, now her sister is part of the movement? At no point is it shown that she is part of anything. Just as baffling as why people are so protective of Peeta. Like, why are these certain people such needed people for this thing to happen? It's like I missed a whole movie that explains all of this. But no. It's just this is how they decided to tell the story. Everything with the lightning tree is confusing. Why did they need to separate Peeta and Katniss? That doesn't make any sense. If they're trying to protect both of them, why would they split them up? Why did Joanna knock out Katniss and then cut her arm? I mean, to get the tracker out, but they didn't. Like, if to make her look like she died, but like if somebody dies in the games, there's a cannon that goes off. So if somebody's going to kill Katniss, they would know. Like, she's not fooling anybody. Maybe, I guess, she's fooling the... But even if her removing the tracker from her and the Capitol thinks she's dead, then there still would have been the cannon. There's no cannon sound. It just doesn't make any sense. In that moment, why did Joanna knock her out and then make her look like she's dead? The people who are after them, if they're actually after to kill Katniss, would know she's not dead because there's no cannon. And what the hell is this BT guy doing? What did he do to change the plan? Like, there's the spear with the thing. Like, they were going to use the tree to electrocute everybody. But then he changed the plan for some reason, which we have no idea. He gets knocked out for some reason. And then Katniss just all of a sudden decides to tie the cable to an arrow to shoot at the dome screen. Which is cool, but it's like... That whole set piece doesn't make any sense. And then when she shoots the thing, like, for some reason it causes the dome to collapse because she shorted out the video panels. Like, and then then the ship goes through to get her out, but it's like, okay, maybe the ship was the one breaking it. But why would the ship destroy the dome right above Katniss? Wouldn't that put her life at risk if giant pieces of the dome are falling right above her? Like, so much of that doesn't make sense. And the fact that the ship shows up, obviously we find out that the ship is Woody Harrelson and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, this guy that's clearly bad at making her image look bad, but you would think Donald Sutherland's character would know. The president would see. It's like, oh, you're not doing the plan. You're not at all making her look bad. You're not killing her. Like, all the things you said you're going to do, you're not doing. I see you're not doing it. I'm watching the games. But none of this makes sense. And then they explain stuff that, like, everybody was in on this plan. Everybody was in on it? Like, then why did she almost die many times in the games? With the fog, the monkeys. They had to make it look thing. But, like, if one thing changed, she could have died. Why does everybody care about Peeta all of a sudden? Where is Peeta? What is going on? Like, nothing makes sense. Like, it explains, like, oh, she cut the tracker out of your arm. Okay, so they don't know where Katniss is going. But, like, they have no other surveillance opportunity. Do they not see where the ship is going? Oh, there's a ship that flew right over where Katniss got electrocuted. Maybe we should follow that. Nothing makes sense. Like, a crazy twist. Why would they all keep it a secret? Why wouldn't they tell? Why do they have to wait until they extract her from the games to tell her? Why wouldn't they tell? Why wouldn't all of this been discussed before the games? So they could have all gone in and put on a big show and then gone to and just done this thing. If this was all planned, makes no sense. It's just like they have to assume that she is going to, that her and Peeta are going to act in a way that's not going to ruin the plan. What if she killed these people that were part of the plan? They just assume she's going to do the right thing so the plan works out. This plan that makes no sense. And then she wakes up with Gale and they find out that there's no more District 12. Everybody's safe, but there's no more District 12. That's how it ends. Like clearly setting up for like, oh, here we go. This is the war. But like how they get there, this movie makes no sense. It doesn't need to happen at all. They could have gone from the end of Hunger Games 1. Oh, she made the Capitol look bad. Uprising. Here we go. We're in it. This is now the Civil War, which I'm sure is what the final two movies are. This whole movie makes no sense. Maybe it will make more sense in the following movies, but just felt like so much was missing, so disjointed, right? I would hope the master plan that's all happening behind the scenes makes more sense, right? The motivations for all these different characters to make more sense. The game master being in on all of it was so confusing at the end. I just hope that the rush to set up this rebellion that was so unnecessary, and the fact that there's like two parts to the last movie, quote unquote, means that it will all make more sense. They will take the time to tell a decent story, hopefully. And hopefully, like, whatever craziness happens in this is somehow paid off in the final movies. I hope. You know, had some good moments in this movie, but none of them made any sense. None of them were meaningful in any way. Just a bad movie. Just a bad movie. And it maybe in the comments people tell me why I'm wrong. Oh, but no, it sets it up. I don't buy it. But I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of The Ray Taylor Show. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, as negative as they were, of The Hunger Games Catching Fire. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more movie and TV show reviews. I'll be reviewing the final two movies in the Hunger Games franchise next Wednesday and the following Wednesday. And feel free to join the conversation by leaving a comment or rating on your favorite podcasting platform or over on YouTube if you're watching these. Until next time, enjoy the show. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.